Have you ever felt like your mind is just a non-stop storm of thoughts, worries, and to-do lists? Like you can't find a single moment of peace? Well, what if I told you the key to genius wasn't about adding more thoughts, but about finding the stillness that's already there underneath it all? Today, we're going to explore exactly that, a path to real mental clarity.
I love this quote because it paints such a perfect picture, doesn't it? It sets up the central idea for our entire explainer. Just imagine your mind, not as that chaotic thrashing river, but as a perfectly still, glass-like lake. When the water is completely calm, you can see everything with perfect clarity. The stars reflecting from above, the truth resting deep below. That stillness, that's the goal.
So that's the big question, right? If stillness is so powerful, why do most of us feel like we're living in that turbulent river all the time? Why is our natural state so incredibly noisy? All right, let's really dive into this, because before you can find a solution, you have to truly understand the problem. So let's get to know this relentless, chaotic thought stream that yogis sometimes call the monkey mind.
Think about it this way. Every single thing that crosses your consciousness, a sound you hear, a flash of worry about a meeting, a random memory of last summer, every one of them creates a ripple, a little wave on the surface of that lake. Now imagine thousands of those ripples happening all day long. The surface of the lake gets so churned up you can't even see your own reflection, let alone the profound truths that might be hidden in the depths.
And you know what's wild? We can actually measure this chaos scientifically. As you can see on this chart, most of us spend our days in a high-frequency beta brainwave state. That's a state of anxiety, of constant thinking, of always being on. That's the turbulent river. But the state of genius, of deep insight and creativity, that's found in the slower, more intuitive theta waves, the still lake. The whole game is about learning how to shift from that high chaos to this deep stillness. Now these waves, these ripples, they're not a new problem. Not at all. Ancient yogis had a specific name for them, vrittis. These are the mental fluctuations, the distractions, the very noise that keeps our mind locked in that turbulent beta state. And naming them is the very first step to taming them.
This right here is one of the most profound statements ever made about the goal of all inner work. It comes from the ancient sage Patanjali, and it's just so beautifully simple. Yoga, which really just means union, is achieved through nirodha, the stopping or the calming of the vrittis, those fluctuations of the mind. That's it. The entire goal is to calm the waves.
So this is the crucial takeaway, and it's a complete reframing of what it means to be a genius. Our culture celebrates frantic activity, right? Multitasking, complex thinking. But this ancient wisdom tells us that true genius isn't about having more thoughts. It's about achieving the stillness where pure, brilliant ideas can finally bubble up to the surface.
Okay, so if we're going to stop these waves, we need to know what we're dealing with. Patanjali didn't just name the problem, he broke it down for us. He identified 5 distinct types of mental turbulence that create all that chaos in our heads. And here they are. First, you've got pramana, or correct perception. That's when you see things as they really are. Then there's viparya, or misperception, like thinking you see a snake in the dark when it's just a rope. Then there's vikalpa, which is pure imagination or fantasy. Interestingly, nidra, or deep sleep, is also considered a fluctuation. And finally, smriti, which is memory, the act of recalling the past. Believe it or not, every single thought you have fits neatly into one of these 5 buckets.
And let's be honest, for most of us in the modern world, these 2 are the main culprits. Our minds are in a constant ping-pong match, bouncing between vikalpa, worrying about a future that hasn't even happened yet, and smriti, replaying the past, usually through some kind of emotional filter like regret or nostalgia. This back and forth between a future that doesn't exist and a past that's already gone is what generates almost all of the noise.
Okay, so we've diagnosed the problem. We've even identified the specific types of thought waves that are causing it. Now let's get to the good stuff, the solution. The yogis laid out a clear 2-part path to help us find our way back to that still lake of the mind.
The whole path is about balance. On one side, you have abhyasa. This is the dedicated, active, daily practice. It's the doing, things like breathwork, meditation, concentration exercises that literally strengthen your nervous system. But then, on the other side, you have vairagya, the internal work of detachment. This is the letting go, the practice of just observing your thoughts without getting totally swept away by them. And this really gets to the core of it all. You absolutely need both. Why? Because practice without detachment can just become rigid and forceful. and detachment without practice can become lazy and aimless. It's the powerful combination of disciplined doing and mindful letting go that truly transforms the mind from a state of constant noise to one of quiet, brilliant receptivity.
All right, this all sounds great in theory, but how do we actually start? How can we begin to practice this stuff right now? Well, here's a super simple, actionable exercise you can do to begin separating yourself from that chaotic thought stream.
It's called the witness of thought exercise. So first, step 1, you just sit, you breathe, and you calm your system down. For step 2, for about 10 minutes, you just become a witness. As thoughts pop up, you don't fight them, you just gently label them using those categories we just learned. Ah, that's smriti, a memory. Oh, that's vikalpa, a worry. This simple act of labeling is vairagya in action. You're practicing detachment. And then finally, the most important step, you reflect on the fact that you are the one watching the thoughts.
And this is the final profound question I want to leave you with. Think about it. If you can observe your thoughts, if you can label the worry as just a worry, it means you can't be the worry itself. You are the consciousness that is observing it. And realizing that separation, finding that little bit of space between the observer and the thought, well, that is the beginning of true stillness.